And the first item on our agenda is a public hearing to receive comments on a proposed ordinance establishing a golf commission. In accordance with section 4-5B1 of the Charter of the Town of Woodbridge, I now call this public hearing to order to receive comments regarding a proposed new ordinance under Part 1, Administrative Ordinances, Chapter 75, Municipal Agencies, to be listed as Article 17, establishing the Woodbridge Golf Commission. The legal notice was published in the New Haven Register on December 1, 2011. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now I'll ask Jerry Weiner to explain the purpose of the proposed new ordinance.
Well, the Golf Commission, as you know, the Golf Commission ordinance is going to govern the operation, maintenance, and generally all the operations of the Woodbridge Country Club. I think we discussed this at the ordinance committee meeting about a month ago, and we originally proposed 5 individuals. We increased it to 7 in accordance with the comments that were given at that time. And the commission, as you can see, has significant oversight by the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance in certain situations, and the Director of Finance and Operations. So they're going to be an advisory board and make recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, who will have the ultimate say on the operation, management, running, future, present of the Woodbridge Country Club. And that's it.
Okay, Jerry, have we received any written comments?
No, I'm by 4:30 today, so.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public? Just state your name and address. You can have a seat.
Roger Sherman, Fairview Road. With the commission, will the public have any information from the commission, how they will run it, or any say in input?
Go ahead.
The commission will be created by ordinance, and it will, by state law, have to publish its agendas for each meeting. It'll be on the website, the town's website. The public will have notice of every time they meet and will be welcome to attend any of those meetings and know firsthand of what's going on.
So it could be just like a public meeting?
The public meeting,
Just
every
like this
meeting,
meeting.
just like this meeting.
And they'll probably have provision for public comments, just as the Board of Selectmen does.
Okay, well, I think that's very fair.
Right.
Because with Woodbridge Country Club, I would just like to, we all are going to be paying taxes on it. I would like to see it affordable for the residents to come there. The pool in the summer, so it'd be reasonable, because last year I believe it was like $1,000, $1,200 for the summer. I mean, that's not reasonable for the local everyday guy to work that works and be able to go there. The public pool at Beecher, I believe it's only about $200 a year to join and to use that facility. And even be able to go on, to be able to get a day pass there to go use the pool. And we weren't allowed to do that, with the other guy that was running it. So I just want to see that it's affordable for the residents. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other member of the public who would like to speak?
Hi, Tim Kelly, Beechwood Road. I was just curious if the scope of the commission would be just limited to the management of the golf operations, or would it also include coming up with perhaps a plan for the entire property that goes beyond just the management of the golf operation, and similar to what tried to happen yesterday but didn't?
Right. I think I think I'm going to make that recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, that in addition to their responsibilities for the oversight of the everyday operations of the golf course, the pool, the tennis, and the restaurant, that they also consider options for the use of that property to be given to the Board of Selectmen, and then to be the subject of public discussion.
Okay. And could you explain the selection process for filling the commission seats?
I think the selection process basically is people who either have a knowledge of golf or business or experience in the town government.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hi, Gregory Coyne, 1891 Litchfield Turnpike. With regards to the selection on the commission, I was wondering if any in the short list were members of the board of directors of the golf course. Because I made a statement one time in the Woodbridge Conservation Commission, and Mr. Roger Harrison, with all due respect, said that he was a member of the board of directors when the golf course was failing. And he said that he had no clue that it was failing. So I wanted to make sure that we were not going to have a commission that was made up of people that were members of that board when it was failing, because it's like, the town bought a failing golf course and then is going to give it back to the same people. I think that's something you should think about very seriously, because it would be a major disservice to the town if we were appointing people who were in the same board when it was failing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jay Damon, 1029 Racebrook
Good
Road.
evening.
Good evening. Just also want to say thanks for last night. It was great to have a lot of people put their mind to rest about the course and stuff like that, and end of that story.
Message was loud and clear.
Yep, absolutely. Regarding the commission, I think it's a great idea. Have a bunch of people that are knowledgeable in the golf course management or business end of running a type of facility is excellent. Have you already selected a bunch of people for this commission, or is this in the pending process, or?
This is in the pending process, and we will not be nominating anyone tonight.
No, I'm not looking for that, yeah, right.
At the request of Greg Coyne, who indicated he needed some additional time to come up with possible suggestions.
Is there gonna be some public offering to people to be interested in participating in this?
We can entertain suggestions or recommendations.
Because there's a lot of qualified people who,
Yeah.
a lot of qualified people who live in town who understand the operations of the course.
So if you're interested, or if anyone is interested, they can submit their resumes to Jerry Shaw.
That's good. Has anybody, and this is something that maybe the board could look at, that some of the other companies that run golf courses in the neighborhood too, I know that MDM, is that the name of the company?
Yes, MDM is the current manager.
I know that they might not be coming back next year.
We have an RFP out now, and so I don't know whether they will make a response to that or not.
Just thinking that a lot of the other golf courses in the neighborhood who have the facilities to run a secondary golf course, could be a viable opportunity for the town. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further members of the public?
Buddy Britton, 1800 Litchfield Turnpike, Woodbridge. I have an email that I was asked to read in behalf of Coupop, and then possibly make some of my own personal comments after. From Coupop, whereas the Commission on the Use of Publicly Owned Properties is charged by the town ordinance to be responsible for making recommendations on the proper usage of all publicly owned property in the town of Woodbridge. And furthermore, such ordinance specifies that it is the duty of the Commission to study the uses of all such land buildings from time to time, and to study and recommend the Board of Selectmen in the acquisition by purchase or otherwise uses, changes in usage, or direction of such uses by appropriate commissions or agencies now existing or to be created with such expert advice, research, resources, and assistance as it shall deem appropriate to such duties. And all such town agencies and commissions administering, using, or affecting such land and buildings shall report to the commission as required by it. CUPOP strongly objects to the establishment of a new golf commission at this time for the following reasons. CUPOP is an existing and standing commission in the town of Woodbridge whose primary and only charge is to make recommendations on the proper usage of all publicly owned properties, and as such is the appropriate vehicle for reviewing use or disposition of the country club. The Board of Selectmen, through its power to appoint CUPOP's membership, can ensure that CUPOP has the skill set required to deal with these issues, ignoring or bypassing CUPOP to deal with individual properties robs the town of knowledge base and continuity intended by town ordinances. Number two, the town had previously established a Country Club of Woodbridge Liaison Committee on October 14, 2009, which include representatives from several town commissions. This committee spent numerous meetings discussing the future of the Country Club property. Replacing this committee fails to capitalize on the knowledge and experience of the members, and again robs the town of continuity in making decisions. The members of CUPOP believe that in order to be more effective and efficient government, additional planning should be considered before establishing a new commission. Furthermore, input both from CUPOP and the existing Country Club Liaison Committee should be considered before voting on the creation of additional commission. If in fact the Golf Commission is approved, CUPOP strongly urges the Board of Selectmen to automatically appoint previous members of the Liaison Committee to the new Golf Commission. I have some questions based off of the last meeting that we had in regards to this. At the time, there was stated numerous times that there was only one plan, when in fact at that time, in Town Hall, there was 4 proposals submitted by MDM, and I was wondering why, instead of the purchase to own or the town footing the bill, we totally ignored the other 3 proposals on the table, and how come that hasn't been revisited in light of the outcry at the last meeting concerning this commission / authority?
What 3 proposals?
MDM's put forward 4 proposals.
Oh, 4 alternatives. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And you guys, for whatever reason, focused in on one. There was 2 rental proposals, which had nothing to do with the purchase of the club, which would have, even if you went with a short-term lease agreement, would have allowed him some continuity there, would have made it more profitable for the town. And instead of being cooperative and bargaining in good faith, it's my feeling that by doing a year-to-year lease and not showing any type of commitment, not only hindered his ability to do business, but hindered the town's ability to grow this and put it in a good, position, as opposed to now we've allowed a competitor literally a mile away to come in, open shop, take all our business, and we're completely behind the 8 ball with nothing in place, when right now you should have your entire year under contract.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone considering these other proposals? Have
The
we gone forward?
the
or we just-
negotiations ended with Mr. Manchetti, who owes us money, so that there was nothing further. I don't know if you want to comment further on that, Jared.
And I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe Mr. Manchetti was not, even though he made one of the alternatives a lease, and it was a short-term lease, he really was mostly interested in the long-term agreement with the town, so he could make long-term plans. I think the short-term lease was the least attractive to him, and I don't think he was really interested in doing that. And there came a point in time in the negotiations when I think the town felt that it couldn't continue, so that's when the negotiations stopped.
Okay, as far as the sale of the country club as a whole, or parceled out with maybe squirreling away 17 acres for future development or et cetera, is there any consideration now to put it up for sale as a loss with the deed restriction, to hustle the thing back onto our tax roll so we start making up that tax money sooner than later, with an eye on the prize of hopefully coming, you know, several years down the road to break even. You know, we sell the
We're gonna
thing,
explore all possibilities with that.
you know, because if we had, you know, 2 million, 3 million from a developer, we get 2 million from the golf course, and we get 200,000 plus whatever down the line, I think that would have been a far prudent plan. I mean, the whole thing between the authority, the Toll Brothers, was the lack of a plan, and
We, in 2010, went out with an RFP to sell the country club with the conservation easement, and we had no responders. But we can revisit that.
yeah, but a lot of it's the dollars and cents. I mean, I understand that you don't wanna take a $4 million or a $5 million loss on it.
That would
It
be-
didn't put a price on it, it was just make us an offer if you're interested in purchasing, there was no takers.
But we can revisit that. And we'll have public discussion on it.
Okay.
Buddy, one question. Did I understand, one of your, things you said is that you would, QPOP would like all the former members of the, liaison committee to be named on the?
It was a suggestion that in order to have continuity, that the committee that's already in place be turned into a commission and step forward, and then however it works, people be replaced when their tenure is up. Because if those were the right people in charge, you know, what changed?
Okay. Thank you. Any other members of the public have any comments?
Bob Hill, Acorn Hill Road. First of all, I just want to thank you for bringing the opportunity to the town to decide on what to do with the country club. Kind of understand how this all took place, in that it was never really a plan to buy the country club. We were forced into that, and I applaud the Board of Selectmen and people of the town for taking the step to securing it to ensure that it wasn't developed. Similar to what I deal with in my business, when franchisor takes back franchisees' locations, you're kind of in a defensive position of trying to work yourself out of a situation that you've been put in. And from where I sit from a resident standpoint, kind of watching what's taking place, and I try to watch things pretty closely in terms of checking the agendas and minutes and watching the meetings that are going on. It seems as though over the last 3 years, the lion's share of the focus has really been to try to manage the country club and get that in order, because we only had one person really willing to operate it. And I could see where the rest of the focus of it, the grand plan that we've been hearing about that needs to take place, which is a good idea, okay, wasn't completely being worked through at that point. Obviously, we heard loud and clear yesterday that the residents of the town want us to take the time to work through whatever that plan happens to be. I've heard some people say, well, we're selling it at the bottom of the market, in 5 years from now, it may be worth more. Just recognize that in 5 years from now, if we were at the same place, say we do all this planning, we ended up at the same place in a decision, that would mean that we would conservatively pass up on $500,000 for 5 years. The project is 5 years beyond. I'm gonna guess that the property 5 years from now is not gonna be, that 17 acres worth $4.7 million. So that's kind of something that's in there. One of the other comments that I heard was maybe it should be sold to one large developer. And these are all these ideas that are out there that I think that, to jump around here a little bit, I do think that at this point, now that the message has been sent, that this board really should manage that idea making or plan making process more closely. I'd be a bit skeptical if we push this off to people in town that we're going to appoint. only because even if they're in their best nature of doing the right thing for the town, there's going to be criticism. Because unfortunately yesterday when people clicked no, what we didn't get was no because I only want open space and I don't care what happens to my taxes, or no, I don't like this particular proposal, or no, and you can go all the way down the list. Unfortunately, we don't know that. So all we know right now is no, okay? And this particular board is going to work towards a plan towards what we do with the country club. Interestingly, about 20 minutes before I came here tonight, I did a search, and I said, Toll Brothers golf courses. They do actually operate golf courses with residential housing. So it would be, I understand, not everyone likes Toll Brothers, so that's a whole nother discussion in that way. So that's something that you might, I don't know if they were actually offered or asked if they wanted the entire parcel. Were they?
We had a discussion with them about possibly managing the golf course, and they were not interested.
They were not interested. They do it though. They do in other
They do.
areas of the
They
country.
do.
So that may be, now that the deal is no, it's interesting sometimes how people react when you say no. That makes them reconsider their position there. So that's another piece I think to go through. But I really believe, I know that you meet twice a month, and usually most months it's once a month, and then some months it's twice. You might want to think, townspeople felt they wanted more involvement with this process. And I applaud what you did, saying, look, we have this offer, let's bring it to the townspeople, let's see if they want to go with this, because it does get us out of the debt, because we have all these other projects coming up now. But the townspeople said, well, we're not that fast. Okay, we may end up in the same place later on, but what people of the town said, we want to really look at this more closely. And I think that this particular board should really be the one facilitating that. And I know, and I've had a number of discussions with people around town, it's an arduous process of having people coming in, putting ideas up on a board, crazy ideas, wild ideas, and then working through sorting out whether you bring in someone who's a consultant or facilitator to help go through that to come to the best ideas to consider. And somehow figuring out which ones are most palatable to the town residents. You know, in my opinion, the first one on the list that I mentioned, people who want to keep it as open space and have their tax go, because that's what they believe in. I respect that. I have no issue with that, okay? But let's make sure we know where everyone else falls on the list. Couple other just quick comments. If you don't manage this at this level and you do decide to start selecting people for this commission, I would be very careful about any connections of any resident into whether that interest is considered direct or indirect in some way. And it's hard in a small town where you have so many people that are so connected in so many different ways to try to keep people as neutral as they possibly can in their thought process. And that's just something to consider. One of the issues I believe that exists why the MDM golf arrangement didn't work, it's kind of like when you buy a house on a fixer-up type of situation and you don't do the fixer-up part and then you lease it. Inevitably, you're going to have a tough relationship with your tenant because you're going to be, you got to fix it. No, you're going to fix it. You're paying a cheap rent. Nope, you fix it. I fix it. And so if we are going to lease it out to somebody else and we're not going to operate it yourself, we're going to be faced with some capital improvements right now to get it to end that part of the relationship, because we're not going to be able, because you're going to the same situation. You're going to have someone go in there. They're going to try to operate. They're going to realize there's problems with the facility. They're going to look for us to do the improvements, and we're going to say, no, you kind of, and it's hard. You've got a gray line where you go with it. So that's another thing that has to be considered here while we consider, operating the golf course. Those are the comments from what I've seen take place in the last few weeks on this. I do appreciate the fact that you brought this to us. Unfortunately, at this time, people want to see more of a plan. I also hope those that spoke up and said they wanted to see a plan now also step forward to become part of the plan and work towards the plan and come genuinely to the table to help. Because I don't think having, the payment goes from, Tony, right now the payment is how much?
Right now, we're just paying interest.
Which is how much a year?
70,000 a year.
Okay, and the payment goes to how much?
You have to add the principal payment next year, which is 350,000.
Okay, so I think yesterday, some people said, well, geez, we've absorbed the country club, I'm paying my taxes, so what? Okay, I don't think that a lot of people realize that, no, the numbers next year, if we're making the principal and interest payment of 350 versus 60 or 70,000, is gonna be substantial, and they are gonna be impacted by this. So I think that's part of the education process that we all need to go through. And, unfortunately, we're going to have to be to the point of educating beyond, because not everyone follows this stuff as close as some of us do, and we've got to do a really good job of making sure that information is thoroughly looked at, all options are considered, and so that way, whatever the next idea is or next plan is that's brought forward is, carefully gone through. Just one last point that just hit me. Knowing that you really can't go through all the town planning and zoning requirements before it's finally approved, because the engineering won't be done before that happens and so on. I do think that if you enter into another contract with another developer or whoever it happens to be, I would suggest that you actually go to a purchase agreement before you bring it to the town, because there was a lot of questions that in the letter of intent, well, that'll be negotiated later, that were somewhat troublesome to people around town, what that may look like. So in order to get to a purchase agreement, obviously there's a little bit more money that has to go into to get to that point, but there's a little more definition to it. For instance, one of the things I know that was an issue for a lot of residents was the half of the money at closing, half later. As a resident, I don't think, based on the size of that company, I don't think I would tolerate anything other than all the money up front. So, those are the comments that I have in terms of seeing what's taking place. I appreciate you bringing it to us, and hopefully you don't give up on working on it. But clearly, people in the town want to see more effort put against it. And obviously, until that plan takes place, whatever it's going to be, clearly our taxes probably will go up in the short term until that plan is figured out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, then I'll call the public hearing closed, and we'll move on, and thank you for your comments. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, is action on the matter heard in public hearing. And we've heard the comments that were made, and we have before us a proposed ordinance establishing a golf commission. So I would entertain a motion to approve the adoption of that ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, actually, a couple things. You had mentioned in your statement that you were going to include in the charge something for the commission to look at.
What I thought we would do is that we adopt this ordinance, then when we meet in January and make the appointments, that in addition to what's set forth in here, we give a charge to the commission to look at various options that are available for the property, and then to report those options back to us at a certain time frame. And then we can digest those and then have a series of public discussions about those options before any vote is taken at all. But that's something that we can take up in January.
I prefer the charge of this commission to be focused on running the club. I feel like this other issue of how do we potentially develop or really find a good exit strategy out of not owning the club or whatever it may be, I feel like that might be better with us. I feel like I feel like someone said that tonight, but I'd rather not see this charge expanded too much. I realize there's
What we have before us, so that was
It's not
just,
part of the motion.
that's not, what we have before us, Greg, is this, a motion made to adopt the golf commission ordinance. And I was just doing that by way of background. Whether that happens or not, that's something
I understand.
that is not gonna take place tonight.
Because you mentioned it and because you said you might be in favor of expanding it to that. I just wanted to say that what I understand we're voting on is their job is to focus on running the club.
Correct. It's this golf commission ordinance that's in front of us.
Okay, then, kind of gets back to the last meeting, some of the same concerns I have. That, sounds like we've got the RFP out for a golf management company.
We do.
So, we're gonna be in the golf business for at least another season. Or
Yes.
3, I guess, is
Yes.
what the RFP says, correct?
Yes.
So during those 3 years, but the way it reads, it just seems to me that we've got a golf commission that's doing the same thing as the management company.
No.
And I know that we disagree on that, but it's still the way it reads is, and I'm not sure why it is, but, you know, that make recommendations to Board of Selectmen concerning the hiring of a professional golf management company, consultants, greenkeepers, and such other employees as are in its judgment necessary for the proper operation of the country club. I would think that if we're hiring a golf management company to come in, that the golf management company would come in with people. They would hire the people that would be required, and that would be part of their job. It seems as though the golf commission would be overseeing the hiring of people and then bringing that back to us. So would the golf management company have the ability to hire people without first coming back to us? Because it sounds like that's the way it reads. If they were to hire somebody, they'd have to run it through the commission and then run it through the Board of Selectmen for ultimate approval here, as opposed to them running the course as a golf management company. And then under C, we talk about establish and revise annual fee schedules, and, you know, based on maintaining the course as a self-supporting operation. And I do know that we discussed the rates for town residents and having a preferred rate for town residents, and I agree with that, and we should absolutely have that. But it sounds like the commission would be setting and revising annual fee schedules and the fees. And again, I think that's micromanaging the management company that we're bringing in to run the course. So it just seems like we're overreaching with the commission the way it's written. And then also under membership, it says that the commission members will be appointed by the first selectman and approved by the Board of Selectmen. And I thought that the other commissions are set up that they're named by the Board of Selectmen as opposed to the first selectman. Is that something different?
Some are and some aren't, yeah. But in terms of the RFP, as I understand it, and that's, when we get these proposals back from the RFP, is that we have language in there that we're gonna have input on who they hire and how the fees are gonna be set for the use. This is with the RFP, so we're gonna be part of that process with the people we hire. The fees are gonna have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. So we're gonna have input on that, just to answer that gentleman who was concerned about how much was being charged for the pool, for instance. We're gonna have the final say on that.
Okay, so I guess we could come up against some, I guess, loggerheads with whatever management company we come up with?
No, because we will work out an agreement. Once we get their proposal, then that will be negotiated to an agreement. And in our request for proposal, we're telling them in advance that we're gonna have input on who's gonna be hired, what the fees are gonna be. So they're gonna know that when they make their response to RFP.
I also think that the commission gives the townspeople a place to go to, because they're not gonna talk to a management company if they have issues. This is a layer where there's public comment, and the public can come to this commission and say, we want this, we want that, we want the fee, you know, it's a.
Right, and I understand that,
And they can come to the
I don't
selectmen as well.
I don't
but-
disagree that we should have a commission, I absolutely think we should
Okay.
have a commission.
Mhm.
I was just thinking that it seems as though the commission, the duties and powers seem to be a little overreaching based on the fact that we're gonna have a management company already. And I understand the fee schedule, setting that up, but as far as hiring and all that, I just don't know where our responsibility falls within, you know, we hire somebody to come in and hire people, but it just seems like we're over managing it. And that may, and we may find out that if they come in, maybe we don't get anybody because they don't want to, this is different than other towns, or maybe it's similar in other towns, I don't know. I mean, I've not been on any other board that's had to do this, so. It just seemed to me, reading this, that we're micromanaging the management company, but I agree that the public needs to have a place to come to discuss the issues. I just think that, based on some of the comments that I'd heard from people about the liaison committee, they were looking for free golf for all members, for all residents, and they were looking for unreasonable pricing for the pool and unreasonable pricing for the tennis and other things like that. So we're gonna hire somebody, a management company, to come in, they're gonna wanna make money at it, right?
They get paid a set amount. Doesn't
Right.
matter
So-
what the fees
That's
are.
what's gonna be different this time.
Right.
They get paid a set fee
Right.
every month,
We're gonna get the money.
and we get the money.
Okay.
One issue Tom mentioned though is there a reason we wanna have it so that members are appointed by first selectman compared to the BOS? Are the majority of boards one way versus the other?
I think the majority
prefer
of
the
boards
other.
are appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
This is really no different than that. It's just, the first selectman, whoever that is, can only make recommendations to the board of selectmen.
You have to approve it.
You have to approve it.
Right, which is why I feel like it appears better and to be appointed by the BOS. I much prefer that.
Well, there's always a nomination process before a nominee comes to a vote. And so all this is saying is that the nomination process goes through the first selectman's office.
And of course, you know, minority representation is, this commission is subject to that.
I guess I don't understand why bothering to say appointed by the first selectman if it has to be approved by the board of selectmen anyway.
Well, you say nominated by the Board of First Selectmen.
Do other boards say appointed by the board of selectmen?
I'm not sure, you know, I don't have the ordinances in front of me, but I think Ed's comment that we could put in there nominated by the Board of Selectmen as opposed to appointed is fine, and that's only a technical change.
I prefer nominated.
We can do that.
So you're
yeah.
saying the commission shall consist of 7 members
It should consist of 7
nominated by the
members
first
nominated by
selectman?
the first selectman, as
Yeah.
opposed to
And-
appointed.
But it's still and approved by the board of
Right.
selectmen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's two separate things, nominating and
Right,
appointing.
exactly.
Right.
Okay. As long as the approval is still at the board of selectmen
Mhm.
level. Yeah.
Any other comments? If not, I have one comment that instead of calling it the Golf Commission, I would put out to your consideration, we call it the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission. So that there's no doubt it includes all aspects of that, of the country club.
That's fine, I would,
It's a good idea.
Any other comments? If not, then is that, are those amendments acceptable to those who moved and seconded?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if there are no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda is appointments to the Golf Commission, and as I indicated earlier, I think we'll postpone that till our January meeting so that everyone will have a chance to give their input and their recommendations.
If I could just say, because we've got an audience here, it sounds like there's at least one person who showed up tonight who had told me they're interested. And so if we can find people in town that have the background that applies, business, country club, golf, please make yourself known. You know, Tom and I are going to our Republican Town Committee, trying to, all the resources we have, and I know that the Democratic Town Committee is doing the same, but there might be people outside those two circles.
Definitely.
So we've got a couple people who just in the last 48 hours we're trying to just vet. So we will have some progress for next
Okay.
meeting.
Yes.
Are there gonna be liaisons from other associated committees?
Yes, I don't see why not.
That's
I would
up to the-
envision Q-Pop working with them.
That's up to the committees to appoint a liaison to whatever board
We actually have to be invited to do so.
Not necessarily sure of that.
It's what we went through the last time.
Well, I think that you can nominate, you can appoint somebody to be the liaison. That person has a right to be at a public hearing, and that person
These
can
are
sit
public
and
meetings,
listen.
so.
The liaison doesn't have any more rights on any board or commission than the public does. You're just sitting there, that person is sitting there listening, making recommendations, and then going back to his or her board to advise what happened at the meeting. So there's nothing in our charter, as far as I know, for liaisons. Each board makes its own decision whether they need to have a liaison.
Well, when we did the committee, we had Ed appointed John Charleglio as liaison, and it's in the minutes.
Oh, you appoint him as liaison to the, no, you put him on the Country Club of Woodbridge Liaison Committee. He was a member of the liaison committee by virtue of him being chairman of the Commission on Publicly Owned Properties.
So what that was they were adding a seat, so to speak?
A seat was given to the chairman or to a member of the QPOP, is what happened. That wasn't a liaison to QPOP. That person was a member of the liaison committee. Just as there was someone from conservation on the liaison committee, and I think the board tried to have as many people from the relevant boards and commissions on the liaison committee. That was different than a liaison to. Right.
So is there the
Recreation Commission.
availability of those two extra positions to the seven-person commission?
I think if anybody's interested on your committee, you should give the resume to Gerald, just as Greg said, and they will be, I assume that the board will consider them.
Okay. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the town council's report. The first is a memorandum of understanding, construction of playground on a Leggy property.